Welcome to the Branded Assets Podcast, your place for hot takes on business, brands, and billion-dollar gossip. I'm your host, Kate Bouchard. Thanks for being here. It's been a very busy couple of weeks since the last episode with Ada. We had the Looking Glass Reflections Gala at the Fairmont Hotel Vancouver. It was a huge success. Everyone loved the new location. It was absolutely stunning. I was talking on our last Rich Girl Rundown episode about what we were going to wear and about the foundation. But if you didn't get a chance to listen to that episode, the Looking Glass Foundation of British Columbia supports people here in the province of BC who are struggling with eating disorders and disordered eating. And I've been on the event planning committee for their annual gala for this is my third year. Ada joined a couple years ago. And we had a very successful event a few weeks back, and I'm happy to share that we raised over $500,000 to support Looking Glass and their programs and participants. So just huge success. So that happened, and then it was just like super crazy with work and family life. Again, an illness last week where my son was out of daycare. I think I got 2 working days last week because I have to be home with him when he's sick. And then you might be able to hear in my voice that then it got me. So apologies for any raspiness or how I sound, but I am cutting it very close with the recording of this episode to the release date. I couldn't delay any more in hopes that my voice would get better. Are you still buying expensive dresses that you've only ever worn once? Let this be your sign to ditch one-time wear pieces that cost hundreds or thousands and rent an incredible designer dress at the Fitzroy for a fraction of the cost. As Canada's leading dress rental service, the Fitzroy is here to help you look and feel your best without that hefty price tag. No matter what event you're attending, whether it's a gala, red carpet, work event, if you're going to a wedding, or even if you're the bride herself, they have thousands of options available so you can rock a new look at every occasion. I personally rented from the Fitzroy on 2 occasions, both when I was postpartum, and I definitely didn't want to purchase something new in a size that wasn't going to fit me a year later. I rented a gorgeous black dress for a work event, and the other was a sequin beauty for my first ever Looking Glass Reflections Gala. Now I'm turning 40 this year, and I anticipate attending a few parties for friends, so I've been browsing the store and deciding what to order. We've got a special discount for Branded Assets listeners. Use Branded Assets at checkout for 15% off your rental. That's code Branded Assets from now through December 31st, 2026, online at fitzroyrentals.com. Plus, they ship Canada-wide. Don't forget to tag me in your photos. I want to see you in your gorgeous looks. Today, I want to share some thoughts and talk about career paths. And, I've just been having a lot of conversations with people in my life who are either looking to change the direction of their corporate career, who are entrepreneurs and are thinking going back to corporate, or who are looking for more freedom and flexibility, especially women with children. And, although it's definitely not less hours working as an entrepreneur, typically there's more flexibility in your own schedule because a lot of large organizations are bringing people back into the office 5 days a week. So I'm seeing a lot of discussion in my network and online around career paths and making moves in your career. It's been top of mind for me. So, as much as my digital presence screams entrepreneur or founder, because as a female entrepreneur, a lot of the time you have to promote yourself and promote your businesses online. It might surprise new listeners or people who, are newer to my life to hear that I was actually employed in corporations for more years than I've been self-employed. And as much as I'm a supporter, a huge cheerleader and advocate for entrepreneurship, as you know, I actually would never suggest that someone enter the working world and go straight into launching their own business. That might be counterintuitive, or people may be a little bit surprised to hear that that's my perspective. But the reason for that is that my time working for other people, often at very large companies, truly was instrumental to both my personal and my career growth. I started working in corporations when I was about 18 years old. And so I spent about 12 years working for other companies and about 8 years building my own. Those 12 years inside organizations, they're a big part of why I've been able to build what I have. And they've also supported me in really practical ways. For example, education, benefits, RSP matching, being able to take a real vacation. I can look back at my working life and state very clearly that without those years inside organizations and working for others, I would not have been able to build the skill set or have the confidence or the financial stability to eventually go on to become an entrepreneur and build two of my own companies. So, in this episode, I want to break down what being a corporate girly for 12 years actually taught me. This was before corporate girly was a term. And not tactically, but strategically. So, I'm going to share the three biggest things that working for others gave me that I still use every day as a founder. And I want to talk about why I think people should seriously consider spending time inside organizations before they go out on their own. Not just because it's safer. And honestly, is it that much safer? People are getting laid off all the time, right? But because it might actually be the most accelerated way to learn how a business really works at scale. The company that I got hired at when I was 18 years old in college doing a co op during my business management diploma program was actually the largest of the organizations I worked for, and it was called CHC International Helicopters. I worked as an administrative assistant in a department called Fleet Asset Management. CHC had thousands and thousands of employees around the world and hundreds of helicopters and fixed wing aircraft working in oil and gas and search and rescue. And I actually worked with the team that tracked all these aircraft all over the world. So I was, letting you know like which Sikorskys were in Azerbaijan versus Myanmar, what fixed wing we had deployed to what oil and gas company in Malaysia or Nigeria. It was like thinking back on it, it's so funny to think about that time um, because it was a completely new world to me, but I was so immersed in like understanding the helicopter industry internationally at the age of 18. But this was actually where I first worked with a group of developers. Up until the point that I was hired there, they were tracking hundreds of aircraft on an Excel spreadsheet, like a makeshift Gantt chart that I would have to update every week for our weekly fleet asset management meeting. It was crazy. So they were developing a custom solution to track these digitally. I got the opportunity when I was in this position to work alongside C-suite executives. And in the span of, I think it was 3 years, I was promoted twice, once to the executive assistant for the VP of finance, and then again to become the executive assistant for the president of global operations. So I was working like in the rooms with these executives, getting an inner glimpse into their conversations, their emails, their psyches. I was in the room when the company was being acquired by a US based private equity firm. In fact, I created the slide deck for the final executive presentation and was in the meeting room at the hotel pressing the next button on the slides for the directors. This private equity firm ended up purchasing the company for $3.7 billion. When I think about what I was exposed to at that time, it was just absolutely invaluable. It wasn't an area that I was particularly passionate about. It wasn't, doing things in the day to day that probably were the best of my skill set. But I finished my business management diploma while at the company, which one of their programs helped pay for. Then I made my move. So I took a $20,000 a year pay cut to work as a junior account executive at a small advertising agency that specialized in retail. It was so small that I got to contribute to creative campaign development, concepting. There, I learned all about the creative side of things, where at CHC, I was dealing in like massive spreadsheets and international relations. At the agency, I was directing photo shoots. I was managing Facebook advertising like 1.0 when, you know, ads manager was just like integrated into the business page. I was planning street sample campaigns for Weetabix Canada and product launches, giving out like yogurt parfaits in downtown Vancouver on the morning commute. I learned so much about the creative side of marketing there and the agency side of things and working with retail clients, it just gave me a completely different perspective. It's obviously a huge pivot from, you know, international helicopter company. But now I knew what it was that I wanted to do: marketing, branding, advertising, and what I was good at. I wasn't just organized. I wasn't just good at I wasn't just good at Excel. I actually could create and foster brands that resonated and work that sold. During that time, I was on an account for the BC Cancer Foundation. So it was a charity nonprofit that supports cancer research in the province here. It was working on that account that I really realized my passion for purpose and making a difference, and how marketing and branding could support that as well as making sales. So I took an opportunity when it came up to work in healthcare and had the chance to completely own a brand, a single brand from top to bottom. In that role, I managed $1 million projects. And that opportunity was a matter of the right time, the right place, the right executive team, and the board lining up with, when I arrived at the company. They also had amazing benefits, just like with the large international organization before, that helped pay for me to go back to school and complete another 2 years at college, which qualified me for my bachelor's in business administration in marketing management. I had access during my time there to great RRSP matching programs. Those vacations, I could shut off my computer and leave and not think about work again. And it was during my time there that I learned how to manage direct reports and further develop my skills as a leader. Without these experiences, all of them, there's no way that I would have had the skills or the confidence to step away and to launch my own agency. I also likely would not have been able to afford a college education. These learnings, these experiences were completely invaluable. And when I think about who I was at 18 years old, jumping into managing my own company, I wouldn't have had any idea where to start, I don't think. There's only so much the school can teach you. I'm a true believer in that. Working alongside executives from a young age taught me so much. And if I had to summarize it in three main learnings, the first was how to influence. I got to be in the room when executives were planning board strategy meetings, developing 5-year strategy plans, budgets, coming up with rationale, cases, assumptions, and justifications for the decisions that they were making, they're recommending to boards to approve. How to influence people in an organization also comes into play when you're working with clients, when you're working with and hiring agencies, when you're pitching investors, when you are on stage, when you're in a room sharing about your idea. Learning how to influence people in a positive way to get a desired outcome is incredibly important when you're an entrepreneur. You're constantly influencing, whether it's, influencing a customer to make a $20 purchase or influencing an investor to give you $1 million. I also learned about how to create a positive team culture. And this is something that I think was my biggest learning when working internally in the marketing team in healthcare. I got to see bosses who weren't just bosses, but true inspirational mentors who knew how to delegate and then let go and provide feedback in a way that helps their employees to grow and to bloom in their roles. I also had the opportunity to bring people together in cross functional teams and use what I learned about influencing people to create a culture of adoption and collaboration around making sure that a new brand was successful internally so it would be well adopted and understood externally. Whether I'm working for someone else or working for one of my own businesses, one of the things I'm most passionate about is helping teams create work that they're proud of. There's no better feeling than sharing those campaign concepts with that client and just feeling the pride of the team and the excitement of the team and what they're presenting and the confidence in their work. There's no better feeling than bringing people together around a concept or an idea and getting their buy-in and moving forward as a group. How to create a positive team culture would not have come as easily or instinctually to me had I not worked for someone else and learned these lessons from watching others do it well and do it poorly. And the third main learning that I think I had during this time working for others was how to develop strategy. And probably as a necessity when you are needing to get hundreds of staff on board, all the executives on board, pitch it to a board of directors, you know, strategy has to be very well thought out and developed. I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs kind of willy-nilly fly by the seat of their pants. And many people will say that's just sort of like, oh, the entrepreneurial way or the self-employed way. But I do see it cause additional stress and floundering in a lot of smaller, medium-sized businesses when they haven't properly flushed out strategy, whether it's brand strategy, positioning strategy, acquisition strategy, legal strategy, like regardless of what area it's in, the ability to think long term and rally everyone around the same rallying cry, you know that you're driving towards the same vision and a similar destination. And by nature, larger organizations, especially international with multiple business units, need to spend that time to make sure the strategy is explicitly outlined, well developed, well articulated, and well communicated, in addition to being revisited over and over and over again, not just filed in a drawer somewhere and forgotten about. So, these learnings, how to influence, how to create positive team culture, how to develop strategy, have been integral in both of my businesses and also in supporting all of my clients through my work with Armature and as of late, the coaching that I've been doing, helping startup founders get their idea off the ground. So if you're earlier in your career and you're feeling that pull, that entrepreneurial pull, I highly recommend working for someone else for at least I'm going to say at least 5 years. Ideally at a mid to large size company where you're exposed to various departments and executive levels, right? Learn on someone else's dime. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you be able to observe and absorb like a sponge and make mistakes that someone else is paying for earlier in your career? Try different companies, different industries, take advantage of corporate programs to build financial stability. RSP matching was huge for me, education assistance, on the job training. Like there's other additional certificates, Royal Road certificates that I've taken that were all paid for and facilitated by these organizations that I worked for. And in regards to financial stability, time at these organizations allowed me to build up a bit of a nest egg that when I was ready to become an entrepreneur, I was able to use to my advantage. I had savings, I had RSP money, I have a lira still that's locked in, um, that many people my age didn't have at the time. And I was able to use that to take risks, to invest in myself and invest in my businesses. And I wouldn't have had that. I certainly didn't have access to money when I was 18 years old. It's time for a question from our community. This one is so important, and I just want to say that these are my own personal opinions, and you should absolutely hire a professional for this, okay? But here's my perspective. Here's some of what I've learned. Today's question: as a small business owner, how do I prepare for retirement? Whew. All right. This is a biggie. Retirement. As I mentioned in this episode, I'm turning 40 this year. And I'm going to be honest and say that for a number of years of my entrepreneurial life, I have just thought about the fact that I'm not going to retire. I do not look at retirement in the same way that many people do, mostly just because I can't imagine myself not doing something. Um, Having said that, I do want to make sure that I have enough to live off of comfortably so that if I do continue working past the age of 65, which I'm absolutely sure that I will, if everything goes well in life, um, it's because I want to, not because I have to. And I think that's the difference. Like for me, I can't imagine just turning 65, getting the pension, making my retirement withdrawals and never working again. It's just not who I am as a person. But for me, it's all about making a choice from a place of freedom. The reason this question fits so well this episode is that I was sharing a lot about how when I worked at larger companies, I had RSP matching, and how I built up quite a bit of a cushion that was able to fund my foray into entrepreneurship. That mostly was used. And so now that I'm turning 40 this year, I am in a position where I'm thinking about this much more seriously now. The number one piece of advice that I would give is to get a really amazing financial planner. And I do believe it's important to work with someone who isn't just going to sell you product, although product is very important, but who actually will take the time to sit down with you, go through your business expenses, go through your corporate finances, go through your personal expenses, and develop a cash flow plan that allows you to live a great life now while putting money away and investing in your future. There's been some changes in the financial planning industry here in Canada where we are seeing more financial planners offer fee for service versus them just making a fee on the products that they sell you. So, full disclosure, one of the places that I learned a lot of this information was from a current client of Armature's, Jackie Ip with Engage Financial. And Engage is a client of mine, and they offer fee for service planning and supports. And honestly, I think it is brilliant. You have to invest a bit of money upfront, but they actually support you in figuring out what your goals are, sitting down with your partner, working through all of it together, coming up with a cash flow plan, a spending plan, a savings plan, and then doing check-ins with you on an ongoing basis to see how the plan is working and to make changes as needed. For me, it's a no-brainer, especially as a business owner. There are also lots of self-serve options and programs that you can take. My partner Jag and I actually started a number of months ago putting some time in our calendar on Monday nights, and we're doing Masterclass Mondays. I have a subscription to Masterclass. So every Monday evening before bed, we sit down and we do a program, and we do like a little portion of that program every Monday night. So the first one we did was the habits with James Clear. And right now we're doing the financial wellness masterclass with Ramit Sethi. Ramit has a podcast. He has a number of resources online, and he uses a very similar method to the one I'm talking about, where you're actually breaking down your spending, your spendables, creating a framework for being able to afford the day-to-day luxuries and then also invest in your future. And I think it's a really wonderful thing to look at together as a couple as well. So there are tools online that you can start to get familiar with this process. And then if you want a more custom support program from a financial planner, look for someone who offers fee-based services to help you build your program so that you can build towards wealth and financial success and eventually retirement when you're ready. I also am a huge believer in like set it and forget it. So with my current financial plan, personally, I have automatic payments between accounts that are going into like Wealthsimple TFSA, Wealthsimple Investing, to the other products that I have, like my RRSP and my TFSA, to our joint expenses, to personal savings accounts that I have set up for things like getting my facials or getting my Botox. Like I actually have an account called Desires account, and it's for exactly those things. Automating as much as you can so you're not thinking about it every month has been huge for me. And I am in a building phase right now. I'm excited about the future because I have this plan in place for myself. My partner and I are working on the plan together now moving forward. So, yeah, as a small business owner, biggest piece of advice, hire someone, make sure you have a great accountant, and then also work with a financial planner if you have the ability to do so, and look for online self-education tools and resources. Masterclass is a good example of one, podcasts, um, to keep these things top of mind, and figure out what goals you're working towards and get excited about them. Like make sure the goals fill your cup. Like never would I have thought, hey, I have an account that I transfer money into every month so I can afford my Botox when it comes around so I don't just throw it on my credit card. That is a part of my savings plan. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Obviously, I am not a financial planner and super educated in these areas. It's just been a lot of learning over the years by myself and what works for me right now. Get it sorted. Don't ignore it any longer. I'm definitely of the mindset that I probably won't retire straight up, but that I want to be making the choices about if I work, when I work, how much I work from a place of power and freedom. Something else I haven't talked about is how I also built some of my closest, longest term friendships while employed with my team, with my boss and mentors. It's lonely being an entrepreneur sometimes. Like the idea of never having had that office camaraderie with a peer, popping out to get coffee every morning or, working late nights side by side to get a project across the finish line. Like you'd truly be missing out, I think, if you never got the chance to have those experiences. One of my best friends to this day was my marketing coordinator when I was at the healthcare organization. She's my nearest and dearest. She's a part of the yacht or the couch club. Wait, I don't think I've shared that story on the podcast yet. The concept of the yacht or the couch club, just a little tangent here, is that the same people who would be invited on my yacht, if and when I become yacht rich, are also the same people whose couches I'd be sleeping on if things went majorly south. So they're my yacht and my couch club. And either way that it goes, I'll be there for them and they'll be there for me. So one of the women that I work together with to this day is my yacht or couch club. She's my ride or die, as you say. So yeah, I have so many amazing friendships from the time of working for others in addition to learnings. And it can be lonely being an entrepreneur. And I'm so glad that I have these people by my side today. Trust me, I get wanting to be your own boss, but I think it's really important to say this too, because I don't see this as a binary conversation or like a one-time choice that you're making. Corporate life, it's not a stepping stone for you to rush through to get somewhere better necessarily, right? Like for a lot of people, that is the destination and it can be a really meaningful one. And entrepreneurship to me, it's never just been a job title, right? It's also a mindset. It's a way of working, a way of being more than anything. Personal responsibility, ownership, curiosity, like the ability to see something and take action that so many entrepreneurs have, like that drive. And what I've seen consistently is that the strongest organizations are the ones that have people who bring that entrepreneurial mindset into corporate environments too. Like people who think like owners, right? Even when they're not. That combination, structure, process on one side and the ownership and initiative on the other, that's where the best work happens. And learning how organizations actually function when you're not the one making all the decisions yet is huge. Because as I mentioned, you're learning on someone else's resources. You're seeing someone else's mistakes play out. And then if you choose to build something on your own, you're not guessing or going in blind. You can learn how to run your own business and not learn how to run a business from scratch because that learning has already been done and observed. So whether you're about corporate life or about entrepreneurship, or maybe both, and maybe back and forth, I don't feel that you have to define yourself as one or the other for the rest of your life. Like it is no longer that world where you stick with one job in one industry for 25 years and then retire. We have options available to us. And should be no rush to jump into entrepreneurship and completely overlook the benefits of having worked a 9 to 5. I actually think that you shouldn't go straight into entrepreneurship. There's a great case for getting experience out in the corporate world first. It definitely was invaluable to me. Okay, I hope that's some food for thought. I'd love to hear about your experiences and whether you're going to be corporate for life or really going straight into entrepreneurship and that road is for you, or if you're kind of in between like me and have done both. Let me know what you think in the comments on Spotify or hop over to Instagram and share them with me. That's it for me today. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you with Ada on our next Rich Girl Rundown episode. Bye. That's a wrap on today's episode of Branded Assets. Power looks better when women are in the room, so thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, follow the show, share it with a friend, and join us on Instagram at Branded Assets. We're just getting started. I'm Kate Bouchard. See you next time.